In today's video, we're going to be taking a look here at our European model, GFS model, and Canadian model. Today, though, we will be taking a look at our temperature anomalies on the European ensemble model. I have seen you guys' comments talking about how you miss seeing the temperature anomalies, so I've gone ahead and added those in for today's video. So be sure to stay tuned for that. That'll be towards the tail end. We will be going over the next 10 days or so on that, maybe even more, I forget. We do see there is a bit of storminess here across the southwest already. We also see that across kind of the eastern United States, we're seeing quite a bit of this activity also. So across kind of the deeper southeast and then even up and through the Ohio Valley here, we are seeing some snowfall or mixed precipitation. As we just gently move things on, we can see that there is that freezing rain threat. I've been getting also a lot of comments from folks experiencing and expecting this freezing rain, how it's just so untalked about. It's very, very weird, not really being talked about by anybody. But these models have been consistently showing pretty significant ice and freezing rain here for lots of Texas, Oklahoma, and even into Arkansas, Tennessee, and Kentucky. And we've been talking about this for probably 3 or so days now, but it seems to not be really catching on. And this could be a very impactful situation, especially as it's like a 1, 2, even 3 punch here as we see it still going on by Wednesday the 1st. And then we see kind of this storminess. We've been talking about this as well, how it's just going to spread through these regions, all rainfall, of course, and we're just seeing tons and tons of that moisture coming in from the Gulf of Mexico. This does move out right as the cold moves in, so we see something like this taking place with the jet stream. This will mean very cold air here for a lot of the northeast and mid-Atlantic, I would say, so we can expect that. A little bit of a warm up here, especially east of the Rockies, but kind of over the Rockies as well. Let's just keep going, and we can see that there is some storminess that continues on. I want you guys to note that the storminess kind of stalls out. We see a low pressure center kind of develop. All of it is trying to move this way, but we see this actually kind of take a northern course here. This does have some potential that I've been watching very closely, and we're going to pay attention to it on all the models. But we do see this kind of try to move up the coast, although here we see it well out to sea on the European model, but it is there. It does exist, which I think is the big thing here. Now we do have a jet stream pattern that looks like this in the upcoming pattern, and this is going to allow for a lot of warmth up the east coast here. We do have a bit of a cold front perhaps developing, which is going to allow for some of this cold air to try to flank in from behind here. Obviously, a pretty decent severe weather setup here across areas south of this low. Also, some snowfall and freezing rain to the north of the low here at the end of the model run, right around the 9th. So we'll be watching closely for that. I think the interesting thing to note here is that we do have some signs of a little bit of a positive PNA here, which we haven't been able to say much this winter. But we still see the southeast ridge playing a big part in the pattern. So a lot of this cold air is pouring into kind of the central United States primarily. I think after this cold front swings through, though, we might see more of a ridge and trough pattern here right around the 10th, 11th time frame. But that's obviously extremely far out, and we need to continue tracking it. But it's hard to say at this point. Now, as we take a look at the total precipitation here, as you can see, a lot of this precipitation is expected across these regions here as much of the storminess moves through these regions. We also see for areas in the northwest, plenty of this precipitation moving onshore to these areas here, just like that. And we do see that some of this is going to come also from the Pacific. So this is our main storm tracks at this point, and then we don't see much happening up here, and we don't see much happening up here either. Just a little bit of storminess perhaps over the next 10 days, but nothing too crazy. Now, the total snowfall here through the next 10 days on the model run, anywhere in the grays is a dusting, if anything. Blues 2 to 6 inches of snowfall, purple 6 to 10, pinks 10 to 20 there. Your pastel blue is going to be 20 to 35 inches of snowfall, and then your pastel pink's going to be even 35 to 48 inches plus. So we're going to be watching, obviously, these areas up here for tons and tons of snowfall, but in general, a lot of the west seeing a lot of snowfall, and then pretty much all of the eastern United States seeing practically none. Now let's continue on with our GFS model. I just want to compare and contrast here. We do see some of that freezing rain now popping up on the GFS model, which we couldn't really say before. So now the GFS model is all of a sudden on board. This might be why the National Weather Service was not quite as on board as they usually use the GFS and the NAM model, and the RAP model, the HRRR model as well. These are all the models that are American, and obviously our American National Weather Service is going to use their American models. Now, that's not to say that they don't pay attention to the other models. That's just usually the way that they go. I have noticed that they tend to uh, prefer using those American models. Now, still, we see hardly any freezing rain here afterwards, and that's when the European model is showing a whole lot. So that's going to be interesting to note. And we do see this same stalling out and then eventually nor'easter look here on the GFS model, a lot more intense there and a lot closer to the coast. Still, though, not matching up with any snowfall there because it is far enough offshore. So that would need to trend pretty far west to connect, but there is potential there, as there will be, as you can see, plenty of cold all the way as far south as North Carolina here, to where anywhere in here would be seeing snowfall from this system. As we continue this on, we get a bit of a ridge and then followed by a cold front, but we get more of this kind of rising motion from the Gulf of Mexico, causing some of the storminess to kind of head up with that southeast ridge. And the southeast ridge really just dominates through the long range, according to the GFS model. So we see something like this. Obviously, a pretty strong indication that this is going to be extremely uh, just persistent. The southeast ridge here is really what I would say. Now the Canadian model here, we just want to roll through with this. We see a lot of that freezing rain once again, just like the European model showed. We get the trough in the east then following that. And then we get this nor'easter, but look at how close the Canadian model has this nor'easter to the coast here. So we see it head to about here, and then we see this thing just ride right up the coast. The GFS model was a little bit further off the coast. The European model was a lot further off the coast. Your Canadian model here is very close to a connection as a 980 millibar nor'easter, and we actually get some snowfall here for some of coastal New England. Definitely something to watch closely, and that's something that's pretty exclusive here on this Canadian model, which has been extremely accurate this year so far, so it should not be ruled out. We do follow this up with a southeast ridge and a lot of storminess following in with that southeast ridge, so that seems to be the trend on all three of these models in the long range. Now, as we take a look at our temperature anomalies, you can see right now, off in the west, big southeast ridge here in the east. That is what we're seeing. And we're seeing a lot of cold air spread through these regions. Now, as we just continue this, we see a cold front rolls through. We do get more cold air in general, especially outside of this little bubble here, which does still feature some warmth. So we see the cold air primarily moving around this region here. So definitely it's dodging that spot. We do see a stronger cold front come through though, and this also features some warmth here, possibly a bit of a positive PNA. And this does allow for the cold to really just pour in for a majority of the eastern United States north of Florida there. So definitely a very cold pattern, but we see things generally warming as we approach the 7th in the east. We do get a little bit of a more cooler period around the 10th, 11th, 12th timeframe, according to this ensemble model. Afterwards, though, we follow that up with multiple days with strong signals of a negative PNA, and then this warmth really spreading, as you can see, all the way up to Canada and especially through the eastern United States, all over the place here in the eastern United States, seeing this very humid warmth, definitely more spring-like weather on the way, if this is correct, as we approach the midway point of February. So, was that really that shocking? I don't think so, because that's how a lot of this winter has gone, and why would we expect anything less, really? Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I know my videos have been a little bit cookie cutter. I am trying to figure out this computer situation. I think it will come down to getting a different computer, so it's going to be a work in progress. Windows 11 has really let me down, and I think I might be moving towards a Mac possibly, which is going to be interesting because, as you guys know, I usually use Debian SV3 in my videos for the radar segment, but Debian SV3 is not compatible with Mac. So there is some interesting choices ahead for me. Definitely some big changes coming to the channel, and that, hey, that might be a positive thing. So we're going to look forward to it, and hopefully I can get that figured out very shortly. So anyway, guys, I appreciate all of you. Thank you so much for continuing to view my videos, even though they've been a little bit different lately. I appreciate all of you. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. We do upload every single day, and we are going to be going over the weather pattern and just figuring out what's going to be happening here. I think we're in a bit of a again, I think I said it yesterday, but a fork in the road where things can really go either way. Nothing's set in stone yet, so we're going to continue to track things. You can even hit the bell icon for daily notifications. Also, like the video if you did enjoy it. Leave a comment down below, and I'll be seeing you guys in the next video.